It's week 5 of Lent. Easter is in view, and then another never-before-heard Canalville Villager Journal. Canalville, the same village that's the setting for my novel, The Very Fine Light. Part 1 is another journal entry from the villagers of Canalville. And I quote, "Dear Journal, after visiting with an old college study mate the other week, I have to admit growing weary by his constant bragging about the fact that West Paris has a great recycling program and mocking how we do it here in Canalville. Well, that's not the only thing he's teasing me about, but that one really got under my skin. Boy, it really steams me to think about his big city arrogance, because here in Canalville, Mayor Julie and Village Board Chair Randy have ditched the same expensive so-called Canalville recycling program that former Mayor Belburn had set up with his chums from West Paris. West Paris. That's why I know about the real inside details for what they're actually doing with their waste under the guise of recycling over in West Paris, because our former Canalville process was done the same way. They call it commingling. That's a fancy word for not actually sorting the waste and just mixing it with all the other trash you put out each day in the garbage and doing it someplace else. Boy, once our new local leaders actually dug deep and learned about all the hocus pocus and how much of a farce it was, well, I'm proud of them and what they did. First, they sent the big city recyclers packing out of town. Now, as for our new setup, it admittedly does require some extra time on my part, but what's the diff? Since just pushing a bunch of mixed recyclables to the curb and they don't even bother recycling it anyway, sort of makes a fool out of my old alum, if you ask me. So yeah, maybe our way is not as convenient as theirs, because we do have to drive our recyclables over to the private recycling center at the edge of Canalville. And yeah, my study buddy just says all he does is just rolls out the pale blue containers to the front of his house, which is the way we did it before until the mayor got wind of it and found out how expensive and ineffective the program with those blue recycling containers. She made a decision and took charge and changed the system. As for that West Paris recycling deal, think about it. If you actually take just 1 minute to reflect on the reality that somebody has to actually sort through the variety of recyclables that's dumped into the average household's blue recycling containers, think about all that stuff that goes in there. Cardboard along with aluminum cans, newspapers, plastic bottles, and those food-laced doggy bag containers that are being dropped into the same blue container. What makes you believe some machine or people are going to sort through all that garbage and then separate an entire village's cardboard, newspaper, cans, plastics, and food-laced doggy bag containers into separate piles, only for it to be burned or sold to someone who actually wants that junk? While it's great to wish that separating will be done once it leaves your home, I don't buy it. But that's what my buddy bragged to me about. He sort of got frosted when I called his beloved West Paris recycling simply wish cycling, and then got mad at me when I asked him to explain what they really do at the big city recycling facility. He didn't have a clue. Although I know they wish to use burnt newspapers as a way to power their paper remanufacturing mill in West Paris, I don't think they recycle any of the other dirty garbage, like the sticky aluminum cans and the grody plastic containers. That's what I like about our new Canalville Recycle Center. You take your cardboard, newspapers, cans, and even plastic bottles, but they don't take those grouty restaurant plastic containers, and they do take glass. Again, I admit it. Getting to the new private recycling center does require that a person separate and place the colored plastics in different bins. And there's the same thing with bottles, green, clear, and brown. By the way, I have to admit, with some of the wine bottles, it's hard to decide if it's a brown or green bottle. Nevertheless, I personally think it's a great system because you actually see the employees bale the cardboard, strap up the paper, Then you can see them compact the aluminum cans and even watch them grind the separate colors of glass. And since it's privately owned, believe me, they move it through their system and then quickly sell all those recyclables in order to make money for their efforts. So even though West Paris's officials and the area newspaper folks brag about what a big deal their recycling system is up there, I think it's just feel-good wishing, not what's really happening. I believe that the way we do it in Canalville to be something they ought to consider too. Since they ask us and the public to reuse resources, I like the new system Julie and Randy got set up. They really know what they're doing. That's for sure. This part of the mini-series on Easter time finds continued moments of endurance and impatience as the 40 days finds Palm Sunday and the Passion in sharp focus. Along with these conflicting sensations, the darkest hour and the brightest day can be experienced when seen within the spring activities of the world all around us. Of brightness, wonders abound in nature with the budding of flowers and trees, to the chirping of birds whose flight patterns zip them to and fro, gathering bits of food for newly hatched yearlings requiring constant attention from their guardians. Likewise for people and the bringing into Christian churches new candidates or catechumens who have been studying and are now preparing to be baptized into the church community on the final days of Easter time and growing the Christian family. And the hustle and bustling about activities finds its way into our family lives as we make preparations for the breaking of the Lenten fast on Easter. The family host now seeks out buying those once-a-year special mealtime items for that traditional family holiday get-together meal, including preparing eggs by coloring them to create Easter eggs. Also, lest no one forgets the Easter Bunny and the support team who assists the bunny in the efforts to build Easter baskets and the planning out of Easter egg hunts. Because Easter Sunday after church will be when the cultural favorite foods complements the hopes and families who commit to come together once again for the Easter dinner. Of course, over the last 2 decades, the advantage of everyone sharing the same Easter week vacation, which affords the society at large a chance for everyone to enjoy the same national holiday time, is diluted with schools and universities working hard to distance themselves from Christian affiliations and succeeding in making Easter family visits a bit more of a challenge. Nevertheless, during Easter week, the society as a whole is in a more reflective mood, if for no other reason than the grayness of winter's stillness has yet to depart from the earth circling the sun. It still aligns with the darkest hour of Jesus coming to his final day on earth. And based on how much effort a person has put into praying, abstaining, fasting, and giving to the less fortunate over the 40 days of your Lenten journey, you are by now fighting with extremes of the feelings associated with Easter. The facing of our ups and downs, things we have done that were successful, things we have done that were not as successful. And in the quiet places in a person's heart grows a longing for guidance and strength that comes with Jesus during his final days. The Virgin Mary's reflections must have been dramatic moments as the first Easter years passed in her personal life. Initially, anyways, the larger world would not have acknowledged what had happened during the crucifixion and resurrection. She, however, most clearly understood what it all meant. And from some collections of masses of the Blessed Virgin Mary from the liturgical press, during Lent, the Blessed Virgin is the model of the disciple who faithfully listens to the Word of God and follows the footsteps of Christ to Calvary, there to die with him. She is the new Eve, or the new woman, who stands by the tree of life, and as the spiritual mother into whose maternal care the Lord entrusts all his followers. And from Father Bertram Bubb, encouraging and empowering the presence of Mary, silent, steadfast, at the heart of the total Paschal mystery. By the memory of the Mother of Jesus, we are enabled to likewise be courageous, prayerful, and faithful as we come to the end of our Lenten journey. This is Nico Steves. I hope you enjoyed this installment. My book can be found using the title, The Very Fine Light, on Amazon.com. Please feel free to contact me at nicosteves.com. That's Nikos Steves, Steves.com. If you like this episode, and for more, share them with friends. This is Nico Steves. Thank you. See you next time.